You can also call skin a cutaneous membrane. Open up your books to page 151, please. Page 151, start of the skin chapter. How many of you, has anybody had skin in lab yet? No, some of my guys have. Anybody who hasn't had skin yet, raise your hand. All right, some people, some hands. All right, Monday, guys. Page 151, there is a chunk of skin. How many layers does skin have?
7.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
7.
7. All those numbers work depending on how you count. We'll start off with the easy part. Epidermis is the outer covering, dermis is underneath it. Epidermis is made of stratified squamous epithelium. Epidermis is made of stratified squamous epithelium. From learning about tissues, what does stratified tell you? More than 2 layers. This stratified squamous epithelium has lots of layers. Underneath that is the dermis. The dermis consists of dense, irregular connective tissue and areolar connective tissue. The dermis consists of dense, irregular connective tissue and areolar tissue. Underneath that is the hypodermis. Is the hypodermis part of your skin? No. Hypodermis is not part of skin, it's underneath the skin. More fat and areolar tissue and stuff like that. Yeah, adipose, areolar, all that good stuff. It's also called the subcutaneous layer or superficial fascia. Also called subcutaneous layer or superficial fascia. You work in a doctor's office, you heard of a sub-Q shot, that's where the needle goes. Underneath your skin, down into the tissue under your skin, subcutaneous. There are some accessory structures. Hair comes from your skin. What are some functions for hair? I think we talked about this. What are some functions for hair?
Protection.
Yeah, it kind of cushions and protects your head. Next time you bump your head on something and it doesn't bleed, you can thank your hair. I have a couple buddies who are pretty bald, when they whack their heads on stuff, it bleeds. You gotta get your head pretty hard to get it to bleed. More functions.
Thermal regulation.
Maybe a little bit, yeah. Your hair might keep your head a little warmer. Hair might keep your head a little warmer. Yep. Lets you know when stuff's near your head or near your body. If there are bugs walking on you, they'll walk over the hairs and that'll say, ew, there's a bug walking on me. Why is it a good idea to know that, ooh, there's a bug walking on me? Bugs bite you, bugs pass on disease, bugs can be venomous and hurt or cause issues. So we want to know when stuff is walking on us. Hair also helps filter out the dirt that you breathe in because you got nose hairs on the inside. What does it look like when you blow your nose after you've been sitting around a campfire?
Very black.
Pretty gross, dark gray, black, yucky stuff, right? That's catching all the filtrate and keeping it out of your lungs. Alright, this is kind of gross, but how many of you guys pull your nose hairs? You guys do, I'm sure. Not you, yeah. How many of you guys trim them? You know when you get older, they're going to come out and it's going to look like brush, right? Get fuzzy. Most women trim, a lot of guys pull them out. It's really good when you get one that goes all the way up to here. Oh, kind of hurts, but it feels sort of good. You know what I mean? You guys are like, why? Try it. Yeah, you will. When you get old and married. Fingernails. You guys got fingernails, they're skin derivatives also. Fingernails and toenails, what good are those? What do they do? Yeah, they work like tools. You can pick stuff up, you can scratch your itches, you can pull bugs off. They're also a little protective, somewhat. Whack your finger with a hammer, you say bad words. And then that may give you a little bit of protection. And you also find exocrine glands in the skin. Things like sweat glands and oil glands. Things like sweat glands and oil glands. You already know this, but what do sweat glands do? They produce sweat. Sweat glands produce sweat. Why do we sweat? Cool us down. What do oil glands do? Produce oil. Why do they have oil on our skin? Keep it lubricated, moisturized. Those are found in the skin also. Now let's take a closer look at the epidermis. Go ahead and flip over to page 152. There's a drawing and a micrograph of epidermis. There are several cells that make up the epidermis. Keratinocytes are by far the most prevalent. Keratinocytes are by far the most prevalent. More of them than anything else. They're called keratinocytes because they make a protein called keratin. They're called keratinocytes because they make a protein called keratin. Keratin makes the cells waterproof and tough. Keratin makes the cell waterproof and tough, abrasion resistant. Our skin is really good at resisting abrasion, also waterproof because of the keratin. Keratinocytes also form really strong connections with their neighbors. Keratinocytes also form really strong connections with their neighbors. They form desmosomes. Lots of desmosomes. You guys remember desmosomes, right? Tough connections between the cells. Keratinocytes are also rapidly dividing. Every, 25 to 45 days, you have brand new skin. They kind of start out at the bottom and work their way up to the top. Melanocytes produce melanin. Melanocytes produce melanin. You guys already know this. What is melanin? Yeah, it's a pigment. It's a brown pigment. Melanocytes make melanin granules and give it to the keratinocytes. They give those melanin granules to the keratinocytes. Why do we have melanin in our skin? Awesome. Protect us from UV rays. Protect us from UV rays. What do UV rays do? They burn it, yeah. And they do something else too. Yeah, they cause cancer. They actually change the DNA. UV rays actually change your DNA. If you know about DNA, they form TT dimers. You don't need to write this down. Don't worry about it. But if your DNA is like that's your strand of your DNA. It'll make these two T's join together and be misread the next time you make a copy of DNA. That's what a TT dimer is. UV rays does that to all your DNA. So the melanin protects you from that. Langerhans cells are fancy macrophages. Langerhans cells, also called epidermal dendritic cells, are fancy macrophages. That's cool. What's a macrophage? Yeah, a cell that eats stuff. It's going to eat foreign invaders. And these guys chop those foreign invaders up and show it to the immune system. They're like scouts out on the edge. They say, oh my gosh, I found this thing. Hey, immune system, this dude's trying to break in. Let's get ready to kill it. So we can say Langerhans cells activate the immune system. Langerhans cells activate the immune system. And then there are Merkel cells. Merkel cells are sensory receptors for touch. Merkel cells are sensory receptors for touch. Take a look at page 152, bottom right. That little blue cell down there says tactile epithelial cell. That's a Merkel cell. Tactile epithelial cell, that's a Merkel cell. You can call it a tactile epithelial cell if you want. I probably should, but I like Merkel. There's a couple words that I like. Some dude named Merkel found it, so I'm assuming. Some dude named Merkel found it, that's why I call it a Merkel cell. You can call it a tactile epithelial cell too. I don't care what you call it. And you can also see a melanocyte there. That melanocyte's making melanin and handing it out to the keratinocytes. And up a little higher, there's a Langerhans cell, also called a dendritic cell. So there, those dudes are hanging out in the stratified squamous epithelium. Everybody okay? Now, thick skin versus thin skin. If you have that, you know this already. Where do you find thick skin?
In the palm.
Soles and palms. Why? Yeah, it protects you from more abrasion, protects you from the environment. You're walking around barefoot all day long. It's a nice little horny layer of skin underneath there. It's calloused and hard to get through. If we didn't have shoes, we could walk on the hot pavement and walk on sand spurs and not care. But now, since we wear shoes a lot, what happens when you walk across hot pavement and jump into a patch of sand spurs? It hurts. Same thing with our hands. I'm willing to say most of us in here have office worker hands like me. If you work construction, they're considerably crustier. That's the thick part. And you guys know what I'm talking about? Back when I used to hang drywall and worked on a farm, I had real hands. Now I got these little office worker hands that are soft. You work in a dish pit for a while, they get pretty crusty too. Anybody work in a restaurant? You know what I mean when I say dish pit? Yeah, if you're the dish dog, you're always in water. It's kind of gross. Anyway, that's thick skin. Everywhere else is thin skin. Everywhere else is thin skin. Two differences between thick skin and thin skin. Thick skin actually has an extra layer in the epidermis. Thick skin actually has an extra layer in the epidermis. But that's not what makes it thick. We'll talk about it in a second, but it's only like 5 cells deep. The big difference between thick skin and thin skin is the outermost layer of thick skin is really thick. The outermost layer of thick skin is really thick. Lots and lots of layers of dead keratinocytes. Everybody happy? All right. Layers of the epidermis. Stratum basale, stratum spinosum, stratum granulosum, stratum lucidum, and stratum corneum. Remember, when you write these guys, like maybe on a quiz or something, you gotta say stratum as well as the other word. Stratum basale. It's also called the stratum germinativum, but that's an old word, so I'm not gonna use that. Stratum basale is the deepest layer. Stratum basale is the deepest layer. It's right next to the dermis. Stratum basale is a single layer of cells. Stratum basale is a single layer of cells. It's undergoing rapid mitosis. It's undergoing rapid mitosis. Those cells are dividing and dividing and dividing. That's also where you find Merkel cells and melanocytes. That's also where you find Merkel cells and melanocytes, along with the keratinocytes. That's all in the stratum basale. As those cells divide, they kind of move up in the stratum. I use this in lab. How many guys have made popcorn in a pot on top of the stuff? If you put too much popcorn in there, what happens? It kind of pushes the lid off, right? That's how your skin cells are growing. They're multiplying down at the bottom, and all the already made skin cells move up like that. Stratum spinosum is the next layer up. It's called stratum spinosum because it looks spiny on a slide. The reason it looks spiny is because all those cells have made desmosomes with their neighbors. All of those cells have made desmosomes with their neighbors. So they're stuck to each other. So when you make the cells, they're going to dry out, so they look almost like little stars. Spiky looking. Next layer up is stratum granulosum. All because it looks kind of granular. Here the keratinocyte starts to flatten out. Here the keratinocytes start to flatten out. And they're making lots and lots of keratin. They're making lots and lots of keratin. They're also starting to die. Because they're getting pretty far away from the dermis where the blood vessels are. They're running out of food, they're running out of oxygen. They're making keratin as fast as they can. Stratum lucidum is the extra layer, found only in thick skin. Stratum lucidum is the extra layer. Found only in thick skin. It's not real thick. Remember, it's only 3 to 5 cell layers. The outer layer is the stratum corneum. That's the thickest layer. That's a protection against abrasion. Cells are dead, they're little bags of keratin stuck together with desmosomes, and they do a great job protecting against abrasion. Let's try a little experiment. You guys all asleep. Let's do this. Everybody rub your forearm. Come on. Everybody's got to do it. Come on. All of you. Rub it faster. Come on, faster. Come on, Pedro. Here, I'll stand beside you then. What's happening? It's getting warmer, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know what else is happening?
Getting rid of them.
Scraping all the skin cells off, and they're all billowing out into a cloud up above us. Everybody breathe in. We're all skin brothers now. And we'll all inhale each other's skin. Happens all the time. We just said, ooh, gross. It's okay if you did. You know the dust in your house? That's mostly skin cells. Now you walk into a place and you see the dust in the light. Oh, pretty dust. That's mostly skin cells. Then it seals down the layer all through your house. And once it's there, it becomes food for dust mites. You guys know what dust mites are? Little bugs that eat your dead skin cells. How many guys have a pillow in your house that's a couple years old? The pillow on your bed. How old's the pillow on your bed? Think about it. Nobody knows? How old's your mattress? Mattress is pretty old, isn't it? Like a couple years old? 3, 4, 5 years old, 7 years old, 10 years old. You had the same mattress since you were 6. Mattresses are expensive. Absolutely. Wow. You guys look like you're bored, so let's do this. These are the bugs that are living in your bed, your pillows, and eating dead skin cells. They're pretty cool, aren't they? Let's see, let's get rid of this. These are pretty cool looking dudes, aren't they? By the way, you guys all want to get an A? Whole class wants to get an A? I am bribable. If you guys all pitch in enough money to get me a scanning electron microscope and set it up, so I can do pictures like this, I'll give you all A's.
How much are they?
Yeah, you can get a used one set up for just under $1 million, probably.
Under $1 million?
You know, I'd be happy with the used one. It doesn't have to be this year. That's it.
$7,500.
Oh, that's John. That's great.
Oh wait, he was on 35,000.
That's even, that's for just the unit. You gotta have the lab set up and everything like that for it too. Besides, you know, I'm gonna have to take time to make my art and keep my wife at the manner to which she's been accustomed, because I'm gonna have to quit if I take bribes for grades. I gotta go. So I'm off on a new career, but save your money. I mean, if you're gonna do it,
You
do it
are
right,
safe.
right?
You're safe.
There you go. Here's some nice dust mites. Oh, there's some dust mite bites. Alright, not a lot of people are allergic to it. They don't really bite. It's not something to worry about. Yeah, but this one,
I got one at 50% of the mattress is dead dust mite.
oh yeah, yeah,
The weight of it?
You are correct. As your mattress sits around, the dead dust mites weigh more and more. Your mattress is heavier. Your mattress is not a foam mattress, one of the old mattresses. It can be up to 50% of the weight of your mattress is dead dust mites and dust mite poo and all that other good sort of stuff. So when somebody tries to say your mattress with a 20-year warranty, do you really want a mattress for 20 years? No. No. You can get pillows that you can wash. Wash them in a washing machine, dry them hot in the dryer, and you're fine. But, those are the bad guys.
Yeah.
Bed bugs. How many guys have heard about bed bugs? They are so difficult to get rid of and so horrifying. You turn the lights on, they come out and bite you. When you're in a hotel, be careful. I don't want to make you all paranoid. Hotel rooms are really gross. Take a UV light with you. Don't touch the cover, the blanket on the outside, the duvet, or any crap like that. Kick that off the bed under the corner. The sheets are probably okay. Look around the edges of the bed for little brown specks. Look around behind the pictures and stuff like that on the headboard. Because if you bring those guys home, they are really tough to get out of your house. I mean, you gotta basically steam or heat your whole house or use all kinds of noxious chemicals. They have bed bug sniffing dogs. If you have a bed bug infection, the dogs will come in and point it out. Be careful. And it's not like only poor people or only people in crappy areas get this. I definitely do not want to get into politics, but Trump's golfers sorts have had these before, and people will post it on Mar-a-Lago and stuff like that. Get the bed bugs with every stay.
You would know if you had the bed bugs, right?
Eventually, yeah. Some people are really allergic to them. So if you aren't allergic to them, though, they don't make big bad spots. And you can get really bad. Eventually, it's pretty obvious.
I moved to an apartment that had it, but we got rid of it with diatomaceous earth.
Yeah, diatomaceous earth.
Yeah, that breaks down there.
Yeah, it actually pierces their exoskeleton, and they kind of
That's how we got rid of it.
dry
We had
out.
dogs. And
Yeah, they get in tiny little places.
really got it.
Yeah, their service to the crowd. One of the effective ways to get rid of it is heat the whole house up to 140 degrees. You know, basically shut the house off and put heaters inside and keep that house like an oven for days. And that'll kill them. Because they're pretty chemical resistant. Back when we had DDT, they weren't a thing. DDT would kill them. Have you guys heard of DDT? You know what DDT is?
Yeah.
DDT is an insecticide, really effective, but it kills a lot of other things too. That's why we were losing birds of prey, ospreys, eagles, anything like that. Their shells get really soft and mushy, they can't reproduce. Read Rachel Carson. I want to say it's Silent Spring. Is that the name of her book title? Let me Google it. Rachel Carson. I think it's Silent Spring, something Spring. She exposed this DDT problem. And okay, we gotta stop using it. DDT used to kill these guys, it doesn't anymore. Since we're doing this, since we're not working, since we're screwing around.
Science.
Yeah. These guys are great. See, there's your eyelash follicle. These are all the worms that are living on your face. That's what they look like, aren't they cute?
Is it true they don't have buttholes?
Yeah, they just kind of eat, blow up and die. So you got this worm poo all over your face and worm guts and blown up, and there you go. Those are living in your eyebrows. See, here they are, they're sticking out. They're kind of buried down in there. So we are pretty good hosts for lots and lots of parasites. But they go, oh no, I take a shower every day. These things don't care. He's cute. stuff that lives on our skin. Think about that next time you want to share makeup with somebody. Can I borrow your mascara? No. Gross. That's also why you don't use the testers ever at Walmart. Alright, so those are the layers of the skin. Everybody okay? Questions? Everybody good to go home and wash your pillow? Get your sheets? Yeah, they make like bags you can put your mattress in, like rubber bags. That'll run that a lot in your mattress anyway. By the way, it's too late now if you already have it in there. Next time you buy a mattress, look into that. The dermis is the layer underneath. Dermis actually has two layers. So if we look at the epidermis, how many layers does the epidermis have? Correct answer is 4 or 5, depending on where it is. The epidermis can have 4 layers or 5 layers, depending on where it is. The dermis has 2. Oh, we got this thing up here. Let's see if we can find something that's actually useful. Oh, here we go. There's a micrograph. Epidermis and dermis. Dermis has 2 layers. The papillary layer, see these guys sticking up here? Here, and up here, and here. That's going to be the papillary layer. You can also see that on page 154 in your book. Papillary layer is the thin upper layer of the dermis. It's made of areolar connective tissue. It's made of areolar connective tissue. Dermal papillae are little extensions that stick up. You can see them on 154. If you look at page 151, there's a drawing and it's nicely laid out. Each one of those little pegs that stick up, those are dermal papillae. They're actually places that kind of the epidermis grabs onto the dermis. More surface area so you don't rip your skin off. Those dermal papillae house nerve endings, capillaries, and Meissner's corpuscles. Those dermal papillae house nerve endings, capillaries, and Meissner's corpuscles. We'll talk about Meissner's corpuscles in a little bit. If you've had lab already, what are Meissner's corpuscles? What do they do? Come on, Wednesday lab people. Yeah, like touch. They detect like touch. They're out near the end of your body. They're close to the surface. So they detect light touch. Papillary layer is also where you find dermal and epidermal ridges. It's also where you find dermal and epidermal ridges. That's a fancy way of saying fingerprints. Why do we have fingerprints? So the cops can ID us when you do bad stuff? For grip. For grip. Yeah, that's what a lot of textbooks say, except now they're kind of not sure. They've actually done some studies where when you're wet, they're not really sure it increases grip that much. still says it in our textbooks, it increases grip, and it may increase, friction on some surfaces. But it also helps you detect vibration. It also helps you detect vibration. So let's say it increases grip in some cases. And it also helps you feel vibrations.
They also did a study too about when your skin is wrinkling underwater, that it actually increases your grip strength underwater. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Some people say we're the aquatic age. That's kind of fallen out of favor though. One of the reasons I think now that the big idea is that we lost hair because we're better at cooling. And when everybody's out of Africa, when we were in Africa, we ran out of prey. We could cool, other prey couldn't cool, so you could keep the endurance to try to chase out prey that way. A lot of people think that's why we're pretty hairless compared to other critters. Reticular layer underneath. That is made of dense, irregular connective tissue. That is made of dense, irregular connective tissue. That's where you find the lines of cleavage, otherwise known as tension lines. Take a look at page 155. Now I know this is dense, irregular connective tissue. When you hear dense, irregular connective tissue, what do you think? Lots of collagen fibers going all different directions, right? You're right, you're correct. But places in your skin, there are more in one direction than they are in other directions. That's the lines of cleavage. Take a look at page 155, left-hand side. Lines of cleavage show the general direction that most collagen fiber bundles run. The general direction that most collagen fiber bundles run. If you end up being a surgeon, you'll know all about those because you want to cut with the lines instead of against the lines. If the lines of cleavage run like this, you can cut like this and leave a lot less scar. If you cut like this, you get a lot more scar. So if any of you guys are planning on being surgeons, remember that. You'll learn a lot more than you learn in here though before you get to do that. Flexure lines are places where the dermis is attached to deeper structures. Flexure lines are places where the dermis is attached to deeper structures. Like the creases in your palms. So if you go to have your palms read, those lines are just places where the dermis is attached underneath. Everybody all right? Skin color. We have many different skin colors. We have 3 different basic sets of pigments that give us our different skin colors. One of those pigments is called carotene. It's like a yellow-orange pigment. It's like a yellow-orange pigment. Some people have more than others. Best place to see it is in your calluses. If you ever trim your callus and look at it, it's going to be yellow or maybe even orangey. That's carotene. That's also the same pigment that turns your baby orange if you feed them nothing but carrots and squash. How many guys have seen that? Babies look kind of orangish. You can actually do that if you have a fair-skinned baby. Feed them nothing but carrots and squash, and they will actually start to take on an orange hue. Have you guys ever experienced that? Try it with your babies. No, I don't use babies. That's bad. So if you guys want to get some extra credit points, eat nothing but carrots between now and the end of the semester. If you're really orange at the end of the semester, I might give you some extra points. But you have to be orange enough that you can go, dang, she's orange when you walk down the street. I'm just kidding, don't do that. Just yeah. But you could. You could take on an orange hue if you wanted. by melanocytes. And we all know it protects against UV rays. Because UV rays cause cancer. I think we talked about this before. If you have darker skin, do you have more melanocytes?
No.
No, your melanocytes are just working harder. Your melanocytes are better at making melanin. How many guys burn if you're in the sun for half an hour? Yeah, you have pretty fair skin. You should be careful of UV rays. I don't like to talk about this a whole lot, but I do for the class. My mom died of skin cancer. She was a strawberry blonde. She grew up on a farm. She worked out in the fields in the, late 40s, early 50s a lot as a kid. Got burned all the time. She had continuous squamous cell and basal cell carcinoma. And then one day, melanoma popped up, and that's what got her. That's a bad way to go. So if you want to go, I'm going to go tan. How many guys love to tan? You're paying a price. Not only skin cancer, but it makes your skin less elastic. And you'll be wrinklier when you get older. You know the kind I'm talking about. I normally talk about this later, but when you go down to the beach and you see people who look like alligator bags, really, really wrinkly, jacked up skin. Usually got the gold sunglasses and the convertible Mercedes and lots of other accessories. The dudes are always wearing Speedos. Dude, come on. Anyway, you tan a lot, that's what you're going to end up like. All right, dermal blood supply. If you don't have a whole lot of melanin or keratin, then you can see the blood supply in the dermis. It'll show kind of pinkish. It'll give you a pink tone when there's blood out there. If the blood's oxygen poor, some places it actually look a little blue, like in your nail beds and your lips. That's called cyanosis. That means you are not carrying enough oxygen in your blood. There's an issue there. Some guys go to the doctor's office and they put that doohickey on your finger. They're actually reading your O2 saturation through your nail bed. All right, so there is dermal blood supply, hemoglobin, blah, blah. Glands in the skin, sweat glands. For now, we're going to call sweat glands sudoriferous glands, like on a quiz. Later on in the semester, I'll let you get away with sweat glands, but before the next test, if sweat glands are on your quiz, you've got to call them sudoriferous glands. All right? And there's actually different kinds of sweat glands. Merocrine sweat glands, otherwise known as eccrine, you'll see eccrine sweat glands a lot, and if you want to call them that, eccrine glands, you can, as long as they are eccrine glands. They're found most places in the body. They are really concentrated in your palms, soles, and your forehead. They're really concentrated in your palms, your soles, and your forehead. Anybody get sweaty palms when you gotta speak publicly, do public speaking or anything like that? That's these guys. When you get nervous, that's these guys. The sweat that comes out of there is mostly water. It's 99% water. There is a little bit of salt in there, some vitamin C, and a little bit of waste products. Mostly water. Chief function for that is thermoregulation. Chief function for that is thermoregulation. Sweat coming out of there is pretty clear. Sweat coming out of there is pretty clear. Then there's the apocrine sweat glands. Apocrine sweat glands are a little different. Acrine sweat glands have ducts that go up to the surface of your skin. Acrine sweat glands have ducts that go out to the surface of your skin. Look, I've got a fancy picture here. These guys are the acrine sweat glands. There's the sweat gland. The duct goes right up to the surface of the skin. Apocrine sweat glands. Let's see if we got a picture of that. Here. Okay, this dude right here is an apocrine sweat gland. Apocrine sweat glands dump into hair follicles. Apocrine sweat glands dump into hair follicles. And the sweat's almost kind of milky. The sweat's almost kind of milky. Because it has extra proteins and fatty acids. Because it has extra proteins and fatty acids. Apocrine sweat glands are found in the axillary and anogenital regions. The axillary and anogenital regions. What's axillary? Armpits. What's anogenital? Well, don't be shy. Yeah, it's around your junk, around your anus and your genitals. Basically, any place you have pubic hair, you'll find these things. This is also the stinky sweat. This is what makes you smell funky. Sweat from acrine glands is just water. Sweat from the apocrine glands, that's what can make you a little stinky. Is it the sweat that stinks? No, it's the bacteria that eat the fatty acids and the proteins that start to stink. So when you're stinking after you haven't had a shower for a day or two, you're working out, doing lots of stuff, you're stinky, that's bacteria poo that you're smelling. That's what makes you funky smelling. To make things even more interesting, those proteins and amino acids could be pheromones. They could be pheromones. You guys ever hear of pheromones before? Know what they do? Yeah, pheromones are chemical attractants for the opposite sex. That's how daddy moth finds mommy moth at midnight in the swamp from a mile away. Follows the scent of pheromones. They make baby moths. We don't know if we have pheromones or not. Everything else does. We probably do too. We just haven't found a good way to study it. Because we knew if they actually could bottle that stuff, they'd be selling it. The stuff that they bottle and sell now is not the real thing. So, oh, if I wear this cologne, I'll attract all the girls. Oh, look at me, I have Axon. No, that's not how it works. But we probably have pheromones too. Mammary glands are modified sweat glands. Mammary glands are modified sweat glands. Technically, they produce sweat. We call it milk. But it's water with nutrients in it. Proteins, fats, carbohydrates. So mammary glands, breasts, are basically modified sweat glands. And ceruminous glands. Where in the world are your ceruminous glands? Well, first of all, does everybody have ceruminous glands? Yes. Where are they?
In your ear.
In your ears. Ceruminous glands make earwax. Ceruminous glands make earwax. Why do we have earwax? It's pretty gross, isn't it? Yeah, has things that go in here. Maybe repellent for bugs. How many of you guys know somebody who got a bug stuck in their ear?
Oh, yeah.
My wife used to work for an ENT office. Every month, people would come up there with cockroaches and other bugs stuck in their ears. You do not wanna stick your finger in there, I know you want to, but don't do it after a bug gets in there. So you smash it, gets stuck and all that sort of stuff. You can get mineral oil and pour it in there and help get the bug out or other stuff like that. Might you wanna go see a doctor, although it's kinda hard to convince somebody you wanna go to an ER with a 20-minute wait when the bug's in there going zzz, 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 zzz. Yeah, it gets stuck in there. Kinda yucky. It also helps keep everything lubricated. By the way, that's supposed to be a self-cleaning system. You're not supposed to put Q-tips in your ears, right? You guys all do that? How many do it anyway? It feels so good, doesn't it? Oh, yeah. You probably shouldn't do that. If you're doing it, be careful, because if you push all the earwax up, you'll make a dam, and it will cover up your eardrum, and you lose your hearing. Well, your hearing drops, because there's a big dam there. So try to drag everything out. Or you can put, this is fun, put hydrogen peroxide in your head on the side and put some hydrogen peroxide in there. And you'll hear it pop and bubble and stuff, and that'll pull some stuff out. And if you really wanna clean it out, get some alcohol, like witch hazel, stuff like that. How many guys swim, like lifeguards, stuff like that? You get some swimmers here, put witch hazel to clean it out. That cleans all the wax out, and it gets sensitive and itchy and red and scaly. So you probably don't wanna do that either, just leave it alone. Unless you feel like you prefer. Sebaceous glands, fancy word for oil glands, they produce sebum. They produce sebum. Sebum is a fancy word for oil. Earlier we talked about oil lubricating and keeping the skin moist. Yep, it does that. Lubricates the skin, keeps it moist. It'll keep the wrinkles away longer. I know if you have oily skin when you're young, it sucks because you got zits and your friends are like, oh, look at me, my skin is clear and beautiful. The good news is, when you're in your 50s and 60s, you won't have wrinkles. They will, because they have less oil than you. So if your skin's a little oily, hang in there. It will get better. You can laugh at them. Functions of skin. Skin serves as a chemical barrier. Skin serves as a chemical barrier a couple ways. Sebum is low pH. Sebum is low pH. That encourages the growth of good bacteria and inhibits the growth of bad bacteria. That encourages the growth of good bacteria and inhibits the growth of bad bacteria. Also serves as a chemical barrier by producing melanin. It also serves as a chemical barrier by producing melanin. Skin serves as a physical barrier because it's waterproof. It also keeps out microorganisms. It's waterproof. It keeps out microorganisms. It serves as a biological barrier because it has Langerhans cells, those dendritic cells. They wander around in the skin and eat any bacteria that are trying to get in. Skin helps you with body temperature regulation. We already know about sweat. The skin can also open up capillaries or close capillaries to help regulate your temperature. If you're really hot, all the capillaries in your skin will open up get that blood near the surface and help radiate heat out. If you're really cold, they shut down to keep the blood in the core on the inside to help keep your vital organs like your heart and your brain warm. Skin gives you cutaneous sensory reception. That's a fancy way of saying it. Lets you know what's touching you. Different receptors detect touch, temperature, and pain. Meissner's corpuscles, the little pine cone looking things on the model out near the edge of the skin, they detect light touch, I've got a picture of that. These out here, these are Meissner's corpuscles. They detect light touch. And these dudes down here are Pacinian corpuscles. Pacinian or lamellar corpuscles. They detect deep pressure and vibration. They detect deep pressure and vibration. Metabolic functions, the skin is where you activate vitamin D. The skin is where you activate vitamin D. Anybody know what vitamin D does? They put it in milk for a reason. Helps you absorb calcium. Calcium is hard to absorb. Vitamin D helps carry calcium from your GI tract into your body. Without vitamin D, it's more difficult to absorb the calcium in milk. So it's kind of cool that they put it in there already. When you go to the grocery store, it says vitamin D milk. Somebody added that vitamin D in there to help make it more beneficial to whoever's drinking it. One day a student asked me, where does the vitamin D come from that they put in the milk? I didn't know. I looked it up. It comes from the cow skin that they get the milk from, really. Except these are the cows that go in the Mac Shack burgers. So whenever you're eating a hamburger, the cow skin, you're also drinking the milk with the vitamin D skin squeezing. They basically chemically process the vitamin D out of the cow skin. So they really do use most of the whole cow. And if you're a vegan, you're a strict vegan, you're drinking vitamin D milk, guess what? You wouldn't be drinking milk anyway if you're a strict vegan, but if you're ovo-lacto, well, guess what? It's got some cow skin squeezings in it too. You learn all the good stuff here, don't you? How many people aren't going to drink milk because it's got cow skin squeezed in it now? You'll do it. Blood reservoir. Skin serves as a blood reservoir. About 5% of the blood in your body is in your skin at any one time. About 5% of the blood in your body is in your skin at any one time. You guys first aid trained? What does pale, clammy skin mean? Shock, yes. Because what happens is when you start running out of blood, whether you're bleeding or your blood vessels are blowing wide open, vasodilating, and you're losing blood pressure, your skin will empty out all of the blood to try and keep your blood pressure up. So that closes down all the capillaries and your skin feels cool, because there's not blood there. Kind of clammy too. Pale. So, if you see somebody like cool, clammy, pale skin, that's been in an accident, get some attention quick. They may be bleeding on the inside. Skin does do a little bit of excretion. It excretes things like urea and ammonia. It excretes things like urea and ammonia. Homeostatic imbalances. From now on, since we started working on systems, there will be homeostatic imbalances in your notes. Homeostatic imbalance means something's wrong, there's a problem, right? You guys all okay with that? Get that idea? Homeostatic imbalance means there's a problem. Homeostatic imbalances are pretty good places for a test question or two. Homeostatic imbalances are pretty good places for a test question or two. I usually throw one or two of those in there because you guys are going into the healthcare field. You know, it's kind of good to know about what issues or problems arise with each system. So you should kind of know these conditions, terms, whatever. Cyanosis means your skin turns blue. Cyanosis means your skin turns blue. No, not so much your skin, but your lips and your nail beds have kind of like a bluish tint to them. That's because your blood isn't carrying as much oxygen as it should be. Because you have low oxygen levels. Erythema is when you're blushing. You have a redness, might be fever, might be embarrassment. You have extra blood near the surface of your skin. Pallor means you're pale. There's less blood near the surface of your skin. That can be because of fear or anger. If you're really scared or really angry about something, you can get pale. You guys heard of fight or flight before, right? Mm-hmm. Fight or flight's adrenaline, epinephrine, norepinephrine. That causes peripheral vasoconstriction. That means the blood vessels around the outside go like this. Why would you want that to happen?
So if you get cut or injured, you don't bleed.
That's one thing, yep. It also puts more blood to supplying oxygen to your muscles. Because it also vasodilates to your muscles. So you get more oxygen in your muscles so you can run faster. You're stronger, more oxygen. Your muscles are jacked up. Jaundice is when you have a yellowish color. That's because you have excess bilirubin in your blood. Excess bilirubin in your blood. Your liver may not be processing things very well. Bilirubin is a breakdown product of hemoglobin. Kind of yellow, greenish in color. So if your liver isn't processing that very well, it builds up in your blood to get yellow. Your eyes look kind of yellow, the whites, your eyes look yellow, your skin looks yellow. You'll see that in people who have liver issues, sometimes alcoholics, a distinct yellow cast too, and that's kind of on the way down. That means your liver's crashing. And sometimes babies come out yellow. They come out and have a little bit of jaundice. Where do you do that? Anybody know? Put them out in the sun, well, under sunlight. That'll help break that down. Take them out to the sun. Bronzing, I'm not going to ask you about. That's from Addison's disease. I'm not going to ask you anything about bronzing. You can cross that out. A hematoma is clotted blood beneath the skin. Hematoma is clot of blood beneath the skin, a bruise, or you break a blood vessel or something like that. Back when I was your age, I was a plasma prostitute. I sold my blood plasma for money. Twice a week, Ceratec Biologicals, $10 a tap. 25 a shot now. $10 a week at the time was pretty good, because you could get a case of Fort Schuyler beer and returnables for $4.99. So that was 4 cases of beer. Yeah, a week. That was all right. That was good money back in 1981 and 82. I got lots of good Ceratec Biological stories. But the hematoma one goes like this. The nurse was a phlebotomist or whatever she was, the tech, was putting the needle in, and she went out the back side of the vein. And, next day I had a black and blue spot like that, blood clotted all underneath the skin. It was hard to make my elbow go like this. That wasn't a lot of fun. I'll tell you, normally I tell this story in APT, but that's a pretty good story. How many guys heard you get a blood vessel you get an air bubble in your blood vessel, you die? Not true. Living proof right here. It's not good in the arteries. Arteries will mess you up. The veins, not such a big deal. The way Ceratec Biologicals work, I don't know if they still do it. They just hook you up to a machine, or they actually draw a couple bags.
This is a machine.
Yeah, this is back in the dark ages. They had a big old IV rig. They'd plug you in and you drain out of blood like a regular old donation bag. And they clip you off and run saline into your arm, take the blood back to the lab, and they'd spin it. Centrifuge, and they have to keep it cold. So what they bring back would be your red cells. They pull the plasma and run some saline into the bag and hang your red blood cells and run them back in again. And then do it again. It was like 3 hours. 3-hour process. One time the nurse, we're in the middle of doing something, I forget what exactly we're doing, but she sets it up and starts everything running, and I see the saline bag. There's a bubble about this long coming out of the tube. I'm like, oh, what do? Do I tear it out? And this time of fear and indecision goes boop into my arm. Oh shit. Nurse! She came over and said, there's a bubble just went in. Don't worry, it's only on TV that you die from that. So you can put little bubbles. Don't do it for fun. But you can put little bubbles in your veins, and it's probably not going to cause a big problem. The venous side is really low pressure. Arteries are high pressure. Veins are pretty low pressure, and it's got to go through the heart anyway. From your veins, it goes into the right atrium, and you're fine. So it won't kill you if you get a little bubble in your vein. Don't do that to arteries, though, because if they get stuck in your brain or in your lungs, that's hematoma. Now, skin cancer, take a look at page 165. We live in sunny FLA. You guys need to pay attention to this. This will damage your skin. Oh crap, speaking of which, I forgot homeostatic imbalances, didn't I? Striae. Those are stretch marks. So go back up to homeostatic imbalances. The rest has homeostatic imbalances in the skin. That skipped a couple by accident. If I skip stuff, tell me. Sometimes I mean to do it, sometimes I don't. Like that time I just forgot. I said, oh, okay, guess we're on normal coloration now. Striae or stretch marks. Stretch marks are places where the dermis actually tears and gets rebuilt. If you want stretch marks, have a baby. They're good to give us stretch marks. Blisters are places where the epidermis separates from the dermis. And then it fills with fluid. Blisters are places where the epidermis separates from the dermis and fills with fluid. You guys have all had blisters, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, with a sunburn, friction, something like that. Burn yourself on a stove, you get blisters. Should you tear the top off? No, you should let it go. You tear the top off anyway because it's cool. Yeah, it's actually a good idea to leave it on because it'll help prevent any kind of possible infection. All right, now this is a really weird question. How many guys do urine cryosurgery with dry ice? Anybody? You guys have like a wart on your hand at one time or another. You can get dry ice and freeze it. That's cryosurgery. You freeze it, it heals, wart's gone, never comes back. You can get the fancy cans of stuff, or you can just wait till you get some dry ice and do it yourself. If you do it right, you're gonna burn it for a while. And then, leave that cover, because you can do pretty deep burns with that. Leave it covered if you can. Did we talk about the YouTube challenges in here yet? How many guys do YouTube challenges? Don't. How many of you have seen the cinnamon challenge? That's pretty hardcore. If you inhale that stuff down in your lungs, you can get hurt. Yeah, haha, look at him, it's funny. That you can get hurt. There's one going around, the last one, it comes up every couple of years. People take ice and salt, put it on their skin. You can actually get third-degree burns, permanent scarring, permanent removal of your epidermis. Do that. Don't do internet challenges. We'll talk about this too. How many guys are under 21? How many guys want to do 21 shots for your 21st birthday? Don't do that. That could kill you. Serious. If you have idiot friends who leave you lying on your back passed out, you could die. You aspirate the vomit and die. If you have an idiot friend who tries to do that, and you gotta leave them, make sure you leave them on their side so when they throw up, it'll be here, not like this. Put them in a rescue position, throw it up on the side. So when they throw up, and they will, they won't aspirate it, bring it in their lungs and die. Don't do 21 shots for your 21st birthday. Don't let anybody else do it. It's tough to do. You guys won't hit 21 anyway, unless you pound them all, knock them all back. If you successfully anesthetize your vomit reflex before it kicks in, then that'll shut down your brainstem and you'll forget to breathe and your heart won't work. But you'll be puking long before then. If you do it like normal, like a shot every 5 minutes, you'll be puking way before you get to 21, and you'll feel really bad the next day. Don't try to do 21 shots for your 21st birthday. All right, effects of UV rays. Not only do UV rays cause cancer, but they also degrade the elastin that's in your skin. They also degrade the elastin. How many guys know what an old rubber band is like? It's all crunchy and everything, you pull it once and it snaps. That's what your elastin acts like. It breaks up, it clumps up, it isn't stretchy anymore. And if your face isn't stretchy, what happens to it? It gets all wrinkly, yeah, looks all wrinkly and everything like that. So you're hanging out in the sun, ooh, look at me, I'm so tan. Your face is gonna be so wrinkly when you're in your 40s. So kind of cut down on the tanning a little bit. And if you go get sprayed, go get fake baked, fine. But stay away from the sun. Sunblock will reduce the damage. Definitely, if you like being outside, sunblock is a good thing. I'm not saying stay inside. Use sunblock, get a hat. You can actually get burned through your clothes sometimes. I mean, basically, we live in Florida. You guys all know that if you have fairly fair skin, you get fried in an hour outside, right? 3, 4, 5. If you're going to be on the beach all day, some kind of umbrella or canopy or something like that is good. Lots of sunblock. Wear clothes. You'll live longer. Your skin will be fresher. I mean, if you don't mind the leather bag look, that's cool. Go for it. But, if that bothers you, stay back on the UV rays. At least use good sunblock. Alright, that brings us back to cancer, and that is enough for the day. We'll talk about cancer next class. Think you're gonna have a quiz on Wednesday?
Yeah.
Yeah. 5E for